Hello and welcome. And it looks like it has happened. So I am AJ Garcia. It looks like what we've all kind of been expecting, dreading. Uh, Military strikes in Iran have happened. Looks like it was Israel, and I believe it's confirmed that they are coordinated attacks with the US. Sorry, I just realized I had another TV on in the back. I've got four screens here. I've got the British broadcast channel. I've got let me take this off so you guys can see me. Hi, welcome. Just streaming late night here, midnight in Southern California. Let's get you guys over to what you want to see. So, all right. I've got Al
that Donald
Jazeera.
Trump is using.
Got Al Jazeera going here, and then we're going to go through Twitter and just kind of get reaction on Twitter also and get some thoughts. So let's just hear a little bit about what this guy's saying.
Treated military buildings.
Can
Interview he gave just a few hours ago in the US, and he doesn't talk very much
Right.
in public, saying we've made a breakthrough in these talks. They're no longer going to stockpile enriched uranium. This is something that was never in the previous JCPOA, the Obama deal of 2015. And you have that soundbite, which will be played on breakfast shows in a few hours' time in the US.
So Massey already reacting to this, posted, it says at 11, so 51 minutes ago. Acts of war unauthorized by Congress. The U.S. is attacking Iran according to the AP. So yeah, so he's definitely not happy. Is Trump speaking on Fox? Okay, I think he posted something on True Social, so let's take a look. Let's figure out if he did or not. Here we go.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer.
So, real quick, I'm hearing there's at least 30 strikes in 30 different targets. I just heard from uh, Fox News, I believe. Yeah, from Fox News, no confirmation that the Ayatollah has been killed yet, but I believe he was targeted. So 30 strikes on 30 locations. They're targeting ballistic missiles. Wow.
From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
So that was President Trump's address. Started 21 minutes ago, and now it's 30 minutes ago. Wow. Okay. I'm hearing there was let me update the headline here a little bit. There's 30 strikes in 30 different spots. President Trump called this a major combat operation in Iran. So major combat operation, and I'm keeping tabs on it on all the news channels. Let's look through X. And what next? You could hear Trump. He made a kind of a call to the people there to protest and to. He said that they have never been given an opportunity and support like this. So, Mike Benz, what are we doing, man? The White House and Trump administration via Donald Trump has just released a video saying that they have attacked Iran and defend the American people and eliminating the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
Attacks. The first word that came across the wire services was that these were Israeli-only attacks, Israeli preemptive attacks against the Iranians. But the U.S., Lucas, we are told, is participating, and that's no great surprise.
No, and officials told me the same thing, John.
I think he's one of the Young Turks. He said, "Fuck, the war has started. Israel has pushed us into this asinine war. Everything that goes wrong is on them. America had absolutely no interest in this war. 8 out of 10 Americans are against it. No matter who we vote for, we get Israel in the war. This is going to end in disaster." So the Trump said that Iran, his latest statement, he said Iran attempted to rebuild its nuclear program. Hence, now we have this major combat operation. So all we can do right now is pray for safety and success for the people in harm's way. So let's see what Alex Jones, is he awake? He's gonna stream immediately once he wakes up. Someone wake him up. We already saw President Trump's video.
revolution, Khamenei is not in Tehran. He has been transferred to a secure location. As I mentioned earlier, there is a little bit of panic in the streets. There is a little bit of traffic jams. So people are really apprehending and feeling that this might get worse. Until now, the only report I said is from the police saying that the situation is under control. And we don't know whether the government here is deciding on major reaction. We've heard of
So Trump says Americans may be lost and we may have casualties after launching strikes in Iran. I've heard there's at least 30 separate strikes.
Which we saw. Is there any indication that Iran is behind that? Presumably, the Iranians would have prepared for this attack and also prepared a response to any attack on their soil.
Well, we've been hearing the Iranian officials over the last few days saying that they are
هم میهنان عزیزم لحظاتی سرنوشت این یک مدون که جمع خواهم کرد در رسانه‌های ما.
Let me just read what he says. My dear kind of long. My dear compatriots, moments of destiny lie ahead of us. The aid of the President of the United States promised to the brave people of Iran has now arrived. This is a humanitarian intervention, and it is the target of its target is the Islamic Republic, its repressive apparatus and machinery of slaughter. I ask you to remain in your homes for now, preserve your safety, security, stay vigilant, ready at the appropriate time, which I will announce to you precisely. You can return to the streets, final action, follow my messages, satellite. So he's trying to position himself as the leader. His message to the President of the United States, Donald Trump. The noble people of Iran, despite the savage repression and massacres of this regime, stood firm with courage for 2 months. I now ask that you exercise the utmost caution to preserve the lives of civilians, my compatriots. The people of Iran are your natural allies and those of the free world, and they will never forget your support in the midst of this difficult period in contemporary Iranian history. Okay, well, I don't know how much power the former Shah's son has, but
out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years.
so this is supposed to be one of the strikes, but as you always know, we'll take it with a grain of salt. We're not sure if it's real or not yet. It's probably old stuff. Mehdi Hassan, they illegally bomb another country without any justification for the second year running, and then they put out videos as if they're innocent victims beyond parody. Israeli woman, maybe. Some strikes there. Not sure the city, but you can see smoke. So these look like very targeted strikes in populated areas. Ian Carroll, oh look, Israel started another war unprovoked. Nick Sorter, breaking, the U.S. military is now striking, so that was an hour ago. I like this reporter. He's usually pretty good.
Multiple other countries in the Middle East. And I do have some breaking news for you as well now, Alex, which is that the United States is also striking Iran. I'm told this by a U.S. official who tells me that the United States is indeed carrying out strikes against Iran. This is not solely an Israeli action. And this official also tells me that it is not a small strike. So we can expect that the United States military is currently bringing massive air power towards striking Iran at this stage. We don't know the extent of those strikes as of yet, but it is clear that the United States is carrying out strikes alongside Israel against Iran. Those strikes are currently ongoing, and a United States official now confirming that to me and stressing that this is not a small strike. A lot for multiple other countries in the Middle East. And I do have some breaking news for you as well now, Alex, which is that the United States is also striking Iran. I'm told this by a U.S. official who tells me that the United States is indeed carrying out strikes against Iran. This is not solely an Israeli action. And this official also tells me that it is not a small strike. So we can expect that the United States military is currently bringing massive air power towards striking Iran at this stage. We don't know the extent of those strikes as of yet, but it is clear that the United States is carrying out strikes alongside Israel against Iran. Those strikes are currently ongoing, and a United States official now confirming that to me and stressing that this is not a small strike. A lot for multiple other countries.
So I just got the latest report. I was watching while I was hearing that Israel believes they're confirming, they're telling all their citizens to shelter, that ballistic missiles have been fired from Iran towards Israel. I'm not sure if they've been fired at any of the U.S. warships as of yet. So Iran is responding. Also, explosions were seen near the home of Ayatollah Khamenei. So it is not yet known, obviously, about his safety, but there was an explosion and smoke and all that. So this is just starting to pop off. It's going to be an interesting couple hours. So this is Khamenei's residence in Tehran destroyed. This is the video.
بیتو زدن حرومیا یا ابوالفضل صاف کردن بیتو زدن حرومیا یا ابوالفضل صاف کردن.
See the comments. Grok, is this AI?
زدن وای زدن
Says Iranians are celebrating. Board of peace. Urgent. Israel's Minister of Defense. Israel has carried out a preemptive strike against the Islamic Republic. Israel's Minister of Defense, Katz, has declared a special and urgent emergency situation across all areas of the country. The government of Israel has carried out a preemptive strike against the Islamic Republic to eliminate threats against the country of Israel. The result, the missile and drone attacks against Israel, its civilian population, is expected in the near future. Therefore, pursuant to authority under civil defense law, Israel's Minister of Defense, Katz, has now signed a special order according to which a special emergency situation will be imposed in the home front command across the entire territory. You must follow instructions of home front command. Pretty much, I guess, kind of military martial law. A lot of just these videos of those big plumes of smoke. Okay, let's see if there's anything brand new. See what the Tehran Times has to say. Nothing so far?
This was Donald Trump saying, we have tolerated what Iran has done over a number of years and now no more. Interestingly, coming as they were negotiating with Iran about their nuclear program, and the Omani negotiator appeared on American television just a few hours ago to say that the Iranians had agreed that they would no longer process enough material to build a nuclear bomb, that was a significant concession on their part. That they were moving towards an agreement. They had the heart of it. Donald Trump said he wasn't pleased with the Iranians, but he hadn't made a decision.
Wow.
Just a few hours ago as well. Clearly the decision was made, and the United States has decided to launch a war on Iran.
Alan, just briefly, how long do we expect this operation to last?
Of course, we have no idea of telling that. We have no idea what the targets are. We know that the United States will have significant intelligence from Iran. We know that they're working hand in hand with the Israelis. What they will be preparing for now is the backlash. We already saw that with the evacuation of some embassies around the region, when non-essential staff were told that they should leave, and they should leave now. And that suggests that perhaps, as Donald Trump was saying, he hadn't made a decision. The wind was moving in the direction of an attack. Of course, there'll be allies in the region who will be concerned, particularly about the idea of regime change. Remember, if you go back to the original Iranian revolution in the 70s, there was a real possibility for a short period of time after Ayatollah Khamenei returned to the country that people described as radical Islamists may well take over the country. They were eventually defeated, but there is no guarantee there is a clear path for whoever may take over the Iranian government now. It throws up all sorts of levels of uncertainty, something Donald Trump has criticised.
US military facilities, and of course Jordan has called Mawfik Sulti Air Base. In recent days, some 60 to 70 US fighter planes, bomber planes have been shown to be there. The Chinese have put out satellite images showing plenty of US planes on the airstrips there.
Jordan,
so that's one
Rory,
of the targets that Iran has said could be coming under attack.
Right, and Jordan, Rory, in a very difficult position because it is a US ally, of course, but it also doesn't want any missiles to be launched from its territory towards, what the US perceives as enemies in the region.
Yes, absolutely, and Jordan is one of these regional countries which is in quite a tight spot at the moment, because it obviously doesn't want to antagonize domestic feelings by looking like it is siding with the United States and with Israel in attacking a fellow Muslim country, but it does have, as I just mentioned, US infrastructure here. There is US military infrastructure in many countries around the region of the Gulf and the Middle East, including Qatar, including Saudi Arabia, etc. Many of these countries in recent days and weeks have said, we will not assist the United States. We will not assist Israel in any attack. And they are, I think, saying that to Iran to basically say, please don't attack us if there is any attack that takes place.
Sorry,
But of course,
I was
for
reading.
Jordan,
I forgot I was
if
streaming.
missiles from Iran start coming over Jordanian airspace, then
I'll
it
lose track
will
sometimes.
most
Sorry.
likely launch planes to try and shoot those down, or shoot those down in some form or other, whether that's planes or other kind of air defense systems. That's what we have seen in previous rounds of this conflict. We saw that back in the not long.
So I'm just kind of expecting. I wonder how long it takes a ballistic missile to get to Iran from Tel Aviv. I guess we just ask Google. 12 to 15 minutes. Okay. So we should be hearing stuff soon on that. Breaking reports that the commander-in-chief of the Iranian army was assassinated.
That Iran refused diplomacy. This is not true.
No, it's not true. And he said that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. Well, Iran says they've never wanted a nuclear weapon at any stage. They want their peaceful right to enrichment. And we have this new information coming from the Omani foreign minister, someone who has been the broker of the recent talks, the facilitator of the most recent talks that took place in Geneva and all the previous rounds. And he's saying there was a big breakthrough in the last few hours, and that is that Iran had agreed not to keep a stockpile of enriched uranium that could potentially be used.
Alex is going to, freaking, I was going to say bust a nut. He's going to lose his mind when he wakes up because it's finally happened, but he's been talking about it. I mean, we've all known it was going to happen. It's actually happened sooner now than I thought. I thought he was going to wait till like Monday or something. But nope, Friday night. And I was shocked because normally these attacks, invasions, everything always happens at 2:30 a.m., between 2 and 3:30 a.m. And it was like 9 a.m. in Tehran when I stopped watching the news and I was turned on and I was playing a game of Xbox. I was too lazy to stream that. And by the time I turned it off, I saw that the Iran stuff had kicked off. But Alex is in Texas, so I think he's 2 hours ahead of us. So he's probably sleeping after drinking a bunch of whiskey. This was a crazy interview today, but that's not what we're here to talk about. This story was insane also, if you haven't heard of it. I know that we're talking Iran, but this guy is a mob boss's son from the Ukraine. He got captured in Bali by some people that they ripped off for 10 million. And here in this video, he's already missing. He's missing his fingers and his legs are broken. He shows it at some point. It's really disturbing, but they found his torso floating, like chunks of his body, just the other day. So I'm pretty sure it's him. Anyway, it's an interesting story to look. His name's Igor Komarov. Meanwhile, tonight over Karaj, Iran, an orb sphere has been spotted over Iran this evening. Iran is just about to be attacked by America. Many people subsides. It was UFO or us. It's probably a drone. Because I clicked on one of those scam war trackers. Now they're all giving me that. I created a new account for this as opposed to my ex account. I should just go on my ex account. I have a better algorithm. How do I switch? Oh well. Gerald Ford sales, yeah. I mean, as soon as the Gerald Ford made it, basically, I think Gerald Ford made it this morning or like at noon, and boom, they just launched. The Bill Clinton testifying today was interesting too. See if there's any news on the Ayatollah being alive or dead.
These are usually very discreet in diplomacy.
In that statement from Netanyahu is again an appeal to the Iranian people. And you heard that from President Trump. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny. Do not let it pass.
Yeah.
They clearly think there is a phase 2 to this operation that's going to happen organically from the ground in Tehran and cities around Iran. But are Iranians going to rise up after?
So the strategy, it's almost as if the strategy is hope. They're pinning their hopes also a lot on the Iranian people.
And building on the momentum of the last protests.
Is that momentum still there, though?
Well, there are new demonstrations and protests that started at the universities, but when there is a war, things will differ. There is a complete, let me say, a split over here between even those who want the system to collapse. Of course, there are some of them who are pro-intervention, but many of them, let me say the majority in Iran, are anti-intervention. If they want to bring down the system, they want to bring it down by themselves.
But let me ask you this, just to be a bit provocative here, how can they bring down the system, as you say, without help from outside?
Well, the idea is that this is how things, this is the debate, and this is how debate has been going on in Iran for years, that a national, or let me say a patriotic opposition inside can pose a kind of threat to the system and can push the system towards reforms and changes. However, when things come from outside, it's different. And
I bet Reddit has some stuff too. They gotta have something. Come on. Yeah, Israel notified their residents, their citizens before they launched the attacks, so they could go to their bomb shelter, and they were the lead on it, it sounds like, but we don't really know anything right now. Waiting to see. Maybe let's look up Israel.
It's Revolutionary Guard to
in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign.
I don't know if these if the missiles, the images of all these missiles is correct or not. It says missile launch from Iran towards Israel. So what are these points supposed to be? Just intercepted missiles or missiles that got shot down or hit? Because in the Al Jazeera video, Tel Aviv is, I mean, that's just one shot though. So yeah. Anthropic news was really interesting, and then Sam Altman came out saying that they had reached an agreement, but what does that mean? Are they allowing the AI targeting? And it just seems like things that used to take like 6 months for one issue, now you get three of them a week, and they just get rushed through, and who knows? We're not going to think about the consequences, so whatever. All right, cool.
For some considerable time. Donald Trump had been against the idea of wars in the Middle East. Remember, during the election campaign, he made the point that if you elect Kamala Harris, you're going to get these people, as he referred to them, sending your...
So Israel sending warnings about incoming missiles. Sirens have been heard in Tel Aviv following the strikes. So I'm also watching an ABC News report. Yeah, I mean, calling it a major combat operation. That's like Putin calling it a special military operation, right? And at least he didn't call it major. He's calling it a major one. Doesn't that just mean war? And he launched it before they could vote on it next week. They were going to bring the issue up to now it's too late.
And here we are, him saying one of the ideas behind this attack was to stop them getting a nuclear weapon. It's clear it's not about that. It is absolutely about regime change, and he's urging the people of Iran, after the bombing is done, to rise up and overthrow the current government in Tehran.
How long does he anticipate this operation to last? Did he indicate that in his address?
Of course, they will have plans laid out for how long this is going to take. And
It's funny, I've never really been on Al Jazeera that much, but they're on top of stuff, especially in that region. But says British embassy in Qatar issues advisory for nationals out of abundance of caution amid attacks in Iran to expect a response. President Trump says joint U.S. Iran attacks are aimed at eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime. Explosions have rocked northern Israel as the country worked to intercept incoming Iranian missiles after launching a nationwide attack. Iran is preparing to take revenge on Israel on state TV, they said. Iran is preparing to take revenge on Israel, delivers strong response, state TV reported. As we reported, Israeli army says missiles have been launched towards Israel from Iran. Where's the live updates on this? Is just the Twitter the best way to go? Major combat operations. So these are some of the confirmed locations so far. Isfahan, the Lorestan, Kermanshah, Liam, Qom, Tehran, Karaj, and Tabriz. Major combat operations, multiple explosions heard in Iran's capital, Tehran, while blasts have also been reported in several other locations throughout. We already saw President Trump's comments. Too early to know. All right, let's see some of these latest updates here. U.S. envoy to Israel thanks Trump. Okay. Thank you. You gave them chances to do it peacefully, and they said no. Even as I sit in the bullseye, I am grateful for the strong. Mike Huckabee. Oh, let's check on Tucker. That page was pretty good, though. What was that we were on? Al Jazeera English. They deserve a follow. But we gotta check on our boy Tucker and see how he's handling. He may be live. If he's live, hell, I'll end the stream and watch it with you guys. He's Tucker's sleeping too. Wow, everyone's still asleep. So Huckabee's thanking Trump. Netanyahu, this is 6 minutes ago. Netanyahu says attack aims to remove existential threat. I think that's one of his favorite phrases. But all politicians have favorite phrases, I guess. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that the attacks on Iran aim to remove an existential threat. Netanyahu added that joint action by Israel and the U.S. will create the conditions for the brave Iranian people to take their fate into their own hands. Trump alluded to the people that are left. Who knows how bad that they cracked down on them already, but barrage of missiles launched towards Israel. Too early to know the success of the Israel attack. Explain that this deja vu moment referencing the 12-day war, it would be unlikely that the officials would be in their expected areas. President hasn't been harmed. Oh, it looks like we got something. So the internet was disrupted also. Missiles have struck several areas in Tehran where ministries and military compounds are located. Explosions have also been reported in Iranian cities. President Trump says major combat operation. Israeli army says missiles were launched from Iran. Israel declares state of emergency. U.S. official told Al Jazeera. Joint U.S.-Israeli airstrikes. Goal is to dismantle Iran's security apparatus. All right. 53 seconds ago, new explosions heard in Iran. So more. Iran's Tasnim news agency has reported 2 or more explosions had been heard in Tehran. The IRNA agency also says reported explosions were heard in the western and southern areas of Ilham City. Moreover, air defense confrontations with hostile targets were continuing in the city center, other parts of Tehran.
So now this is the difference here. However, how the
Could
impact
see a
is going
jet
to be on the
flying.
ground, this is the big question. We're in the first hours of a war that started and no one knows how it's going to end and how many days will it take or how many weeks it's going to take or how many months it's going to take. So it's really very complicated. Even for us as people who've been covering Iran, we're not really capable of really catching
Zooming
the
out.
moment.
Israel, together with the United States, have started a joint operation, Operation Lion's Roar, which aims at eliminating Iran's existential threat to our nation. The oppressive regime of Iran poses a threat to us, and they always chant death to Israel and death to the United States. To the Iranian people we say, you must remove this regime. The aim of this joint operation is to eliminate the existential threat by Iran, as the Iranian regime has channeled all the country's resources to wipe off Israel from the map and then target the United States. Thousands of Iranians have taken to the streets. Now Israel and the United States
This is the compound.
خیابون جمهوری فکر کنم بیت رهبری همین الان زدن.
It's supposed to be the compound
بیت
of the
رهبری.
Ayatollah.
برد رو هوا.
continue to operate, and we expect to suffer massive losses. However, we draw strength from our people as the renaissance operations and process have started. We have been joining hands. That's why I call on the Israeli people to abide by the home front instructions, simply because these are life-saving instructions, and the military operations is directly linked to that. If we had not moved, we would have a nuke-powered Iran, they will have been possessed thousands of nuclear-powered missiles. Therefore, we had no option but to start this battle. The joint operation by Israel and the United States has started. And again, I address the Iranian people, the Iranian army. You are not our enemy. We are not your enemy. Our common enemy is the oppressive tyrant regime that have taken illegal possession of your lives. They have taken illegal possession of your resources and plunged your country. I am working in close coordination with the President of the United States, and every army man who lays down his arm will be offered safe exit. It is your opportunity, the Iranian army, the Iranian people. It is your opportunity to have a new Iran, a free, liberated Iran. Hold your heads high. Our forces and the forces of the free world have come to you to give you a helping hand. We, together with the United States, will work for peace and prosperity in this region. And here I would like to thank my friend, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, the U.S. Army. The President Trump is not only a friend of Israel in the White House, but he is a firm leader, a leader of the free world. He is working for the best interest of the entire world. We will bring the broader light of freedom to the whole world. Again, I salute the
Is this the
personnel
name of
of the
it?
Israeli army,
Epic
the
Fury?
Air Force, the Mossad, civil defense, and rescue teams.
They
I
named it
salute you
Operation
for
Epic
your
Fury.
capabilities, your efficiency, and make no mistakes, the entire nation is behind you. The entire nation is praying for your victory. 2005 years ago, the old Persian Empire had the same goal to
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
the king, and in these glorious feast days, they stood up, and the tyrant ruler of Persia, Cyrus, had fallen. Equally, the current...
So it's pretty shocking. I mean, we were supposed to have a vote scheduled either Monday or Tuesday. I think it might have been bipartisan. They were going to bring it to I believe to Congress, about making Trump have to ask for permission to go to war for a major military operation. So he launched it before that. It's going to be it's too late now. Iran's IRGC has confirmed it has launched missiles and drones towards Israel following the attack. Towards Israel, nothing towards the US confirmed yet, which is a good thing.
Was
to respond.
Now
Exactly.
it's just in a couple of hours, and this is the second wave heading towards Israel. And according to an Iranian official who spoke to Al Jazeera, there are no red lines anymore. Right. So it seems that they are preparing for this.
Okay. Now, we're also hearing from Iran's allies in the regions, including the Houthis in Yemen. Will they get involved in this conflict?
At least this is what we are hearing right now, reports that they are going to be part of this. Now, how are they going to be part of this? Is it going to be by expressing solidarity, or is it going to be by closing the straits, or is it going to be by launching rockets towards Israel? These are big questions. Also, in the past few weeks, we've had a kind of an ascending rhetoric coming from Iraqi militias allied to Iran. Mm-hmm. The only ones who we didn't have a clear picture from whether they are going to be part of this are Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm. All right, we will keep a close eye on that, of course. Let's further analyze these latest developments now with Akiva Eldar, who's an Israeli political analyst in Tel Aviv, and also Mohanad Seloum from the Doha Institute of Graduate Studies, joining us here in the studio. Akiva, let me come to you first and ask you about what Prime Minister Netanyahu has said and the case for war he made. Is it a convincing one? Will Israelis be convinced by what he said?
Bitcoin tank?
I will do a spoiler. At the end of this round of escalation, Netanyahu will declare victory, which he was not able to do.
What does victory look like for Israel today?
Exactly.
It's Israel.
He put the threshold much higher than he did in the previous round of escalation. Now he is promising a regime change, and he is the angel who will save the Iranian people from their evil regime, as President Trump said. But I am quite sure that the Israelis, and this is about 50% of the Jewish population, don't take him seriously. He wasn't able to declare victory after the massacre in Gaza and the thousands of
Israel
victims
has the right
in
to defend
Israel.
itself. That's his
There
tweet.
are still people in the north that are not back to their homes, that have been now the Hezbollah or Iran. We don't even know for sure where those missiles are coming from. But what his total victory is, of course, changing the agenda.
Says
There was
Gholam
supposed to be a major
Hussein
demonstration in
Mohanni,
Jerusalem
head of
against his
judiciary, was
government,
eliminated.
corrupted government. And now, of course, a few minutes ago, I had here in one of the suburbs of Tel Aviv another siren, and people are stuck at home. But his message that you've been translating
Mehdi said Donald Trump will be
very
impeached for the
carefully
third time.
was that this is necessary, that we have to sacrifice our well-being. We have to go back to give up traveling outside of Israel, because this is our mission.
Talk
Now,
about just doing
symbolically,
what
next week,
he
the
feels he
Jewish
has
people
to
are
do.
going to celebrate the holiday
I
of
wonder what.
Purim, where the Jewish people
I'm not going to get
manipulated
into the
the
Israel
Persian
thing.
regime. And I'm sure that we're going to hear more about it. And Netanyahu does what he is doing best in the last 25 and more years, to brainwash people that there is no option other than perpetuate the war against our neighbors. And he will change the Middle East, and he can manipulate the President of the United States. And to remind you, Polly, he succeeded to convince Trump in his first term in the White House to pull out of a good, reasonable agreement with Iran. But
And it was
good
just
enough
last week also that Netanyahu traveled to Washington, presumably to convince President Trump once again to enter into this war with Israel. Mohanad Seloum, let me come to you next now. The goals of this U.S.-Israeli operation have been laid bare by both Prime Minister Netanyahu in his statement there and also President Trump in his statement. It is regime change in Iran.
It is. It's very clear.
Right. And so how do you see it playing out?
Well, it
Regime
seems that they're
change
going
in
for
Iran.
the
We're in
leadership.
regime
There is a
change.
decapitation process going on as we speak since the morning. We don't know how many of the leadership have already been decapitated. And also, you know,
Well, we know from our reporting on the ground and the sources that the supreme leader is safe. He hasn't been injured, and so is President Pezeshkian safe, as from what we understand.
Yeah, well, these are unconfirmed reports. These people are in hiding at the moment, and there is no official confirmation. And even the Iranian response to the attack, it might be on autopilot. I mean, the Iranians have already predicted this. Probably they have simulated this over and over and over since last June, so they know where they are going.
So I'm hearing from Fox that there's a report. This is what I just heard from Fox. There's a report that the Ayatollah has been taken to a safe location. So take that for what you may, who knows how good that piece of information is, but sounds like he's alive and he's been taken to a safe location. So
Israel on its own cannot change the regime in Iran. It is the U.S. Army doing this, and also the U.S. have been very much intentional with this. They have moved in.
This is Israel right here.
Of carriers, F-22s, everything, and they are attacking Iran as we speak.
Right, but what imminent threat did Iran pose to the U.S. for the U.S. to attack it in this way? This is what President Trump said in his speech, that Iran posed an imminent threat. What was the threat?
Emergency alerts to the Iranians.
Out there, but they're saying that the missiles,
residing in the Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and Jordan who have not yet managed to leave the countries. Be advised to depart the territory of these 5 countries as soon as possible. Departure is not possible. Refrain from approaching any military bases, hotels, docks, commercial complexes, or locations associated with the United States. Minimize all non-essential travel.
solution, but it never happened. Now the U.S. is reaching the last limit, especially with the zero game, if you like, ideas of President Trump, saying that you have to give up on everything. We will not accept anything below that. And Iran is saying that it's more dangerous to give up everything than go into war. So the Iranians went for war because it's less costly for them than giving up on their nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles.
Akiva Eldar in Tel Aviv, what about the costs for Israel? In the last few years, Israel has been engaged in a war in Gaza, a genocide in Gaza. It's been engaged in a war against Hezbollah in Lebanon, twice now against Iran. Isn't this costing Israel and the Israelis as well?
Yeah, it costs not only financially with its billions of dollars. Maybe Netanyahu is hoping that his friend over there, White House, that is not very eager to spend money on other countries or other people. Maybe he believes that he will be also
I think in the last stream I said
convince
put
him
1,000 or
to pay
2
those
that it would
bills.
happen by
But more than that,
within the
you
next
look
4
at
days or
Israeli
something. I mean, it wasn't hard to say
people, the
that.
average Israeli is depressed. He doesn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. The only tunnels we know is the tunnels in Gaza that we destroyed. People are stuck at home. They are not able. Israel is becoming an isolated island more than before. And I think the psychological effect, at least 1/3 of the
Iran's
Israelis,
interior
according
ministry says
to
criminal
research that
enemy
has been
once again
done
in
in the United
violation of
States,
all
are
international
in a
laws
kind of
and during
post-trauma.
negotiations
And
has attacked our
I
dear
see
homeland.
my grandchildren, I see my neighbors, people going with their heads down. They don't see any end to this. And Netanyahu, as we know, his
Israel air defense systems intercept several missiles in the skies over Jerusalem. Iran's interior minister urges citizens to remain calm. Trump says U.S. is undertaking massive and ongoing strikes.
It's just past 9 GMT. And our continuing coverage of this breaking news story, the U.S. and Israel are attacking Iran just days after representatives from Tehran and Washington held indirect negotiations in Geneva. Explosions have been heard in northern Israel as the military there intercepts incoming Iranian missiles. And in just the last few minutes, Qatar's defense ministry saying that an Iranian missile has been intercepted by the Patriot defense system. And there are also reports of explosions in Bahrain. Now, the attacks in Iran, the Iranian capital, are part of what the United States are calling Operation Epic Fury, and they're taking place across cities in Iran.
So I'm hearing this is supposed to be several days of attacks. At first I heard it would be 4, but now we're hearing it may be longer sustained, well, longer than 4 sustained days of attacks. And the initial attack was near Khomeini's compound, probably where his mosque. I've actually seen a few documentaries on Khomeini on YouTube, and he's got a really interesting. When he was exiled, all he did was pray, and and like he just eat and pray, eat and pray, eat and pray, and radicalize and pray and pray and pray in exile. And he like lived on the same block as where his mosque was. It was something crazy, but that man can just live a very weird, very like he lived a very disciplined, basic religious life, hardcore, So
retaliatory attacks.
Well, it's clear that the Iranian retaliation started. It started with the first barrage, at least 2 barrages towards Israel. Now we're hearing of the interception over Qatar and in Bahrain.
It's Tel Aviv.
And this actually reflects what the Iranians have been saying over the past weeks regarding the retaliation to any war on them or any attack on them. But this is just turning this whole conflict into a regional conflict.
Because the Iranians have said that all U.S. assets in this region are a legitimate target, even if the countries are allies,
yes.
Because the Qataris have good relations with Tehran.
They are mediators, actually. They are mediating, and as we know, there were a previous attack after the June war in 2025. So we are seeing more regional intertwining when it comes to this conflict, and this is taking this conflict towards somewhere very complicated.
Mohanad Saloon, what are your thoughts? What are the risks today of an all-out regional conflict, given what we're seeing, these developments in Iran targeting
Tehran.
These U.S.
This is Tehran, I believe.
Countries that are allies.
Well, the stakes are very high. When Iran is now, it's confirmed to the Iranian leadership that this is an existential war. This is not a war that would end with a compromise. President Trump himself appealed to the Iranian army. And maybe I note here that the Iranian army was not targeted last June. And this time around, they only targeted the IRGC as we speak. So the U.S. and Israel, both of them confirmed that this is an attack for regime change. So the Iranians would respond fiercely if they could, because the U.S. and its allies, they probably have predicted this, and probably
then Pakistan,
they have taken measures to prevent that or to minimize the damage, because President Trump said that we might lose some of our soldiers, and that's a cost that we are prepared for.
This is the alarm, by the way, that we all get on our phones here in Doha when there's an urgency, and so the national emergency alert.
So this is really important. So Qatar's defense ministry saying that an Iranian missile has been intercepted by a Patriot defense system. This could be the military base. All U.S. assets in region legitimate target, says senior official. And then we hear that the Qatar base, which is the largest military base, Iranian missile intercepted over Qatar. So yeah, it sounds like we got the next steps in this thing, maybe that they're attacking the military base in Qatar that we got. So hi folks. Probably just me. If you are watching this at some point though, thanks for watching. Hopefully you're enjoying some of this. And like the channel, help it grow a little bit.
Incoming missiles. Now, earlier, an official source in the country, Ministry of Defense, confirmed to Al Jazeera that an Iranian missile was shot down using Patriot systems. Of course, Patriot defense systems were mobilized in multiple numbers ahead of this invasion ahead of this attack on Iran by the United States to multiple friendly countries all around the region, and that seems to be taking part in this conflict now, though they are now serving their purpose. Just within an hour of that confirmation by the Defense Ministry, the U.S. Embassy had issued a warning saying missile incoming, imminent missile strikes.
You haven't listened.
So I don't know how accurate this tweet is, but
information about the defense,
the
Patriot
U.S.
defense
bases in
shooting
Qatar and
down
Bahrain under Iranian missile
airspace around
attack. Now,
Qatar,
kind of
UAE,
what we
Kuwait,
just
Bahrain,
said.
all these airspaces have been
Houthis have
closed.
allegedly
Since we've been
began
out here,
attacks
we've
in
seen a
the
few
Red
flights in the
Sea.
air in the past hour. Those were perhaps the last flights to come in and out of Doha, perhaps for some time. That U.S. warning, that U.S. Embassy warning, telling people to shelter in place,
See,
but
maybe
also
I can
to
get
have
people
food and
to.
water supplies, to have a plan
I don't
to
know if
exit.
I'm
There
on.
seems to be this urgency from the U.S. Embassy to
I don't know if
suggest
I'm
that this
streaming
may
live
be
or
a
not.
protracted event.
Damn it! I wish I was.
So yeah, the emergency alert we all got on our phones just a short while ago
I
here
know I
in
am
Qatar
here.
from the Qatari authorities telling everyone here in Doha to stay away from military installations. As you said, a huge U.S. military
Telling
base
everyone here in Doha
to stay. Difficult to say what is going to be the scope of Iran's retaliation, isn't it, Zain?
Well, I can tell you from reporting I've done in the past in Iran for years, whenever you speak to officials on the ground, whenever you speak to any analysts, really anyone that is connected to the government or the IRGC or the military establishment or the clerical system of government in any way, they continue to say that everyone around their country are all friendly neighboring countries. They want to maintain friendly ties, but they continue to point out that they all host U.S. bases, and if Iran is attacked, there's been an admittance by a number of analysts and officials that they know that a full-scale U.S. invasion is something that Iran is unlikely to be able to combat strictly because of the asymmetry of military power on the U.S. side. But they say that if the United States is going to decide to change the Iranian landscape, if Iran is going to have its map changed, it will change the map of the region. So what we are worried about now is that Iran will retaliate in the way that it has been promising all along, that if it is attacked, it will attack every U.S. ally in the region. Indeed. And that is something that they have gone on record to say for years.
Qatar's airspace has been closed. Bahrain's airspace also closed. We are looking on the left-hand side of our screen there of the explosion in Bahrain. And in Qatar, this was the missile that was intercepted earlier. It looks like in Bahrain, there has been some sort of explosion. Unclear as to whether this is something that was intercepted or it made impact, Zain.
I mean, it is going to take time to figure out exactly the details of what is being attacked, what is being hit. There is some concern about the precision of Iranian missiles. There has been concern about these things in the past. But Bahrain is home to the U.S. Fifth Fleet. Qatar is home to the U.S. Central Command headquarters in the region. So as far as Iran is concerned, with the U.S. and Israel firing the first shot in this latest go-around, everything is now probably fair game.
Also of huge explosions in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, as well as in Kuwait. As soon as we have those pictures, we will bring them to you. Let's go to Mohammed Val in Tehran now. Mohammed, the Iranian retaliation clearly has begun. What are the Iranians saying there?
Well, fully, we have just heard from the Supreme National Security Council saying that they have a major announcement to make
New
shortly.
explosions
But
at
the
Al
Iranian people are
Udeid Air
still
Base
waiting
in
for that
Qatar.
statement because
Explosion in
apparently there will
Kuwait.
be some
Oh,
details there
Iran struck both
about the
Bahrain and
operations that have
Qatar,
been
it seems.
launched this morning. The
Was
the
watching Al
IRGC, the
Jazeera.
Iranian Revolutionary Guard, has confirmed that it has launched a wave of attacks against Israel today. That's a mixture of drone attacks and also missiles. So that has been confirmed. Also announcements from other government institutions, including the Ministry of Interior, asking people to stay calm, to avoid going out, and to get their information only from official sources. So we have an atmosphere of war in Tehran and across the country. Let me tell you about the cities also that we have reports that have been attacked according to the information we have. We have Kunarak city, we have Bushehr province, and we have Kermanshah in the west. We have Qum, south of Tehran. We have Esfahan, that's at the center of the country, and we have Bandar Abbas. Of course, Dizvul also has been attacked. So it's a wide range of attacks that have been confirmed by Iranian semi-official sources. So it's a full mode, a war in full mode now. And also there are information about the air defense systems in the middle of Tehran being in full action mode. So Iran is not holding any punches this time around. They have been promising this. They have been saying that this time it's going to be
Headquarters
different,
of Navy
that their reaction is not going to be
has
anything
been
like what we have
targeted.
seen before. And also you have, of course, signs of that in Bahrain, in Abu Dhabi,
Indeed.
in Doha, where
Indeed.
they have started to target even countries that have military bases in them.
Indeed, Iranian officials, as you say, Mohammed, saying that all U.S. bases and interests are within Iran's reach, and Bahrain
Israel
confirming now that there were
Iran,
attacks inside its territory. The U.S. base in Bahrain, the
yeah, it looks like
Navy's
the
Fifth
military
Fleet
bases are up for
has
grabs right
been
now. They're
targeted by a
trying to
missile
attack them.
attack. Here in Qatar, the defense ministry saying that a missile was intercepted. There have also been explosions heard in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the UAE, as well as Kuwait. So clearly a wide-ranging retaliatory response from the Iranians. They have made preparations for this, as you said. What about the Iranian people, Mohammed? You described earlier scenes of chaos and perhaps panic in Tehran. What sort of preparations will people have made in anticipation for this conflict?
Report of a
We talked
UFO
about the
prior
traffic
to
jams. That
the
situation is still continuous behind
attacks.
me. It is
We
getting
saw
even
this
worse.
video a little earlier.
It's getting worse now, and the
جالب
Iranian
داری
people, of course, because of
میدرخشه
this
It's weird looking for
فکر
sure.
total internet blackout,
So
we are
maybe it's the
not
thing that knocked out
able
the
to
internet.
access all the
من داره
reactions by
حرکت
the people.
میکنه
Some
But we
sort
know
of like
that they
satellite
have been bracing for this for
electric
some time
weapon.
now.
چیه
Iranians,
تو
as you know,
آسمون
I mean, we have those Iranians who might be expecting or even hoping for some kind of action to change the regime, but also we have millions of Iranians who are against this war on their country. And right now what they have is to
Iran's
follow the
supreme
orders
leader
of their
transferred to
government.
a
The government
secure
has asked them to
location.
stay calm, to stay home, and to avoid going out in the streets. We know, as I told you, there is this mixed reaction among Iranians, among the opposition, and those people who have been protesting against the government.
US
Probably they
naval
are wishing
base.
for some kind of safe change of government in the country without themselves being hurt,
Explosions
which is
heard.
a very, of course, difficult situation when your country is under attack. You wish you are personally safe, your family is safe, but you're also wishing for a major change in a change of regime. So that's a contradictory feeling there in the country. People are not feeling safe. Anybody might be targeted here. Anybody might be a victim of this war. But also we have, as
I guess the cyber attacks stole the Iranian news media. So it says Iranian outlets like, it sounds like that's National Iran National Agency and Islamic State National Agency and Mer News saved or faced severe disruptions early Saturday with websites hijacked to show headlines slamming the regime's security forces alongside images of damaged buildings. The attacks coincided with President Donald Trump announcing major combat operations with Israel targeting sites, including Iran's private. I mean, it's like a movie. It's like something you would have seen in a movie in like 2005. Iran's Parliament, Intelligence Ministry, and Atomic Agency by mid-morning, most sites recovered to report airspace closures, school shutdowns, Iranian missile launches towards Israel, while framing the hacks as part of a broader assault. Sounds like all the websites were hacked. Yeah, I wonder how our F-22s are doing. Because what if Iran don't they have to be visible? Are they being in the air? Are they safe? We don't want those multi-billion-dollar things getting blown up.
Has also taken steps here in the occupied West Bank, closing the more than 1,000 Israeli checkpoints and roadblocks in the occupied territory, making movement between cities very difficult, if not at all impossible. People rushing to the supermarkets and the gas stations. A lot of traffic jams reported across the occupied West Bank, with the Palestinian Authority trying to give some comfort to residents here, saying that there are food reserves that would be sufficient for up to 6 months. But really, there is a lot of concern here. There are no public shelters in the occupied West Bank. No construction codes would allow it. The construction codes imposed, of course, by the Israeli occupation. So people here are unnerved. They understand that this is a different kind of confrontation, and they're monitoring very closely, Israelis and Palestinians alike, the developments that are happening across the region. This is not just an Israel-Iran confrontation anymore. Very loud explosion that I can hear in the background. I'm not sure the camera can catch it, but more interceptions heard. One more, again, over
Ted
the
Robinson
skies.
is hilarious.
One more in the Ramallah area. So certainly this is an ongoing situation, with missiles reaching volley after another from Iran, targeting Israel in retaliation for its initial strikes in the early hours of the morning.
As you said, Noor, a lot of concern, not just in Israel,
A lot of
Palestine,
explosions.
and Iran, but
Abu
across
Dhabi,
the region, with Iran
Kuwait,
now starting to retaliate. The
United
Iranians
Arab
targeting the
Emirates,
5th
Abu
U.S.
Dhabi.
fleet in
Wow.
Bahrain, missiles intercepted here in Qatar, but also
Navy base.
explosions heard in the UAE. The UAE announcing the closure of its airspace. You talked
Everywhere.
about the Israeli Prime Minister earlier and his message to the Israeli people, but also to the Iranians. Let's listen to what Benjamin Netanyahu said.
Israel and the United States launched a joint campaign, Operation Lion's Roar. The
Wow, all these
objective of the
guys
operation
don't
is to
tweet
put an
at
end to
all.
the threat from the Ayatollah regime in Iran. At this time, the IDF is attacking targets of the oppressive regime, facilities of the Revolutionary Guard, along with the United States military, targeting ballistic missile sites that threaten both Israel and U.S. forces. This operation will continue as long as necessary. In recent months, the tyrants in Iran have been plotting to rebuild their nuclear and missile capabilities and to bury them underground, where we won't be able to strike them. If we don't stop them now, they will become invulnerable. To that end, the representatives in negotiations are trying to buy time, attempting to buy time in fruitless and deceitful negotiations with our American friends. Whoever lays down their weapons, including among the regime forces, will ensure their safety and secure their future. The Iranian people in all their diversity, Persians, Kurds, Azeris, Baluch, Abkhazians, and all other citizens of this wonderful nation, this is your opportunity to establish a new and free Iran. Take your destiny into your own hands.
Let's speak to Gideon Levy now, columnist at Haaretz newspaper. He's in Tel Aviv. Gideon, how big of a risk is Netanyahu taking by launching this operation on Iran?
It's not only Netanyahu. Israel is taking a hell of a risk. And as usual, in the beginning, everyone supports any military operation by Israel.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, Gideon. We've just had another alert here. from the authorities telling citizens to take shelter and to stay away from military installations because of possibly an incoming Iranian missile. Qatar is home, of course, to the largest U.S. military base in the region, and the National Emergency Alert System going off again, asking citizens to take shelter.
So those, I'm not sure. Let's see if we can pull up the story. The China, Iran jets. All right, there's something in the news about Iran and China. One day ago. Title: Russia and China arming Iran for showdown with the United States. He's saying there hasn't been a brand new military agreement signed between China and Iran. Instead, reports highlight advancing arms deals and deepening military ties amid escalating U.S.-Iran tensions, including threats of U.S. strikes and ongoing nuclear. Key development is the supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles from China. So they got the anti-ship cruise missiles. Wow, if one of those, I mean, hopefully I'm not foreshadowing, but if they're shooting the Navy bases, if they get one of those missiles to get one of our ships, oh, China's given, oh, because China wants Iran's ballistic missiles require Chinese parts. The end of the largest state sponsor of terrorism, Lindsey Graham. Iranian armed forces are targeting U.S. bases in the region, according to Iranian television. Ugh.
Now, that was a message to Iran specifically to say, look, don't retaliate. But the Iranians have said several times that any U.S. facility in the region is basically, as Zain put it a short while ago, fair game.
And we're hearing now from the Iranian Foreign Ministry in the last few minutes, releasing a statement saying this renewed military aggression comes while Iran and the U.S. were in the midst of a diplomatic process. The Iranian Foreign Ministry saying that Israel and the U.S. attacked a range of military and defense targets as well as civilian infrastructure across various cities in Iran. And they're saying that the main target of the first U.S.-Israeli attack were these targets, including government buildings in Tehran. We've heard from our sources on the ground that the supreme leader is safe, hasn't been injured, and that the president of Iran as well is safe. In the last hour, Iran's response has begun across the region. There have been explosions reported in Bahrain, the 5th U.S. fleet in Bahrain, the Navy fleet targeted in that country. Interceptions here in Qatar of a missile launched by Iran. Qatar, home to the largest U.S. military base in the region, Al Udeid. There have also been explosions reported in...
Listen, it's called Connect Team, and it's insane. I don't do schedules or timesheets manually anymore.
And it works?
Oh, like you wouldn't believe it. My team puts in their availability, I click auto schedule, and boom, there it goes. No more...
Him, of course, who's covered the region extensively for us. On the Iranian Foreign Ministry statements, they've come out very quickly to say which areas in Iran have been targeted. How significant is this?
Well, this is a kind of a reflection of things are intact. Command and control is not only on the military side, but also on the diplomatic side. It seems that there is a plan already, and this plan is mainly built on kind of briefing not only the internal community, the internal front, but also the outside on how things are going on. What we're hearing also from Iran is that they were targeting in the beginning of this war of several military commanders. We don't know whether they are they've been killed or not, but there are senior military commanders in Iran who were targeted in this strike.
Okay. Monad Saloon, quite significant.
Oh, so the former president, I almost called him interim, but no, he was the president. So after Putin, the only other guy that was president was Medvedev when Putin allowed him to be president. He just tweeted, he's always trolling Trump and everyone. He says the peacemakers at it again. The talks with Iran were just a cover. Everyone knew that. So who has more patience to wait for the enemy's sorry end now? The US is just 249 years old. Persian Empire was founded over 2,500 years ago. Let's see what happens in 100 years or so. Oh wow, he's just fucking wiping his feet on the US like a doormat. Or at least like just talking shit. Breaking Iranian ballistic missiles struck U.S. naval base in Bahrain.
Shelter in place. Missile threat warning. Seek hardened shelter immediately. Shelter in place. Missile threat warning. Seek hardened shelter immediately. Shelter in place.
So if that video is to be credible and believed, that's a naval base.
The national emergency alert here in Qatar, which says please ensure to stay at home or in a safe place and not go out only for extreme cases until the danger has passed. Clearly incoming danger here in
Iranian missiles
Qatar
in Israel.
2 missiles have already been intercepted here in Doha by the missile defense system. It would seem a third one is incoming. Monad, the Iranians clearly are prepared this time around. They weren't caught by surprise, given the response we're seeing.
Indeed, yeah. And so they are trying to widen this into the region. But equally, we have to remember that the U.S. and its allies have already predicted this. And probably they have plans to stop this. They are prepared also to pay the cost for this. I think what President Trump said, that, some of our men and women might, die in this war, but that's a price we are prepared to pay. So what we're looking at here is the unfolding of this
Houthis resume
conflict where the
Red
Iranians,
Sea shipping
this is the
attack
last
after
showdown, if you
U.S.
like, between
Israel
these two
strikes in
big
Iran.
The
powers.
last showdown, you say, but
Yemen's
how is it going to end?
Iranian-backed
What brings it to an
Houthi
end?
rebels
But it seems
declared
that the U.S. and Israel and their allies as well
declared Saturday they will restart attacks on the Red Sea shipping in solidarity with Tehran, just hours after U.S. and Israel targeted Iranian military and intelligence facilities near Supreme Leader Khamenei's offices. President Trump confirmed U.S. involvement, describing it as major operations against nuclear and missile threats, while Israel called its strikes preemptive. The move reverses a calm period following Trump's administration's Gaza ceasefire. So the Houthis are back. Look at this guy. I don't know if he's the leader, just the spokesman, but he's like the most visible spokesman. Caroline Levitt's got nothing on the Houthi spokesman guy. He's got so much fucking moxie. Jesus, I wish I didn't think that, but that guy's he's like Mike McDaniel electric. Trump speech. Heard Trump and
Imminent
Netanyahu
threats
speak.
from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
And
Its
Raza.
menacing activities
Reza.
directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer.
Almost seems like
Let's bring in our chief U.S. correspondent, Alan Fisher, in Washington. Alan, President Trump making there the case for war, but how big of a political risk is he taking by launching this operation on Iran?
This one looks like it
Well,
hit the base.
of course, he said when Barack Obama was running for election that Obama would launch a war in Iran to make sure that he continued to win. He talked about how regime change was an outdated idea, that the U.S. was involved in stupid foreign wars, that neocons were sending children to fight wars that they themselves wouldn't fight. And, of course, famously, he said that if you voted for Kamala Harris, you were voting for World War III. And as we're hearing news of attacks in Bahrain, in Qatar and elsewhere in the region, there are people that are saying Donald Trump has ignited a small regional war, and they are deeply concerned, all done under the title of Operation Epic Fury. Remember, this is a man who just over 2 weeks ago launched the Board of Peace in the United States, saying that this would be a force for good, working alongside the United Nations. His own vice president in early January said that there was no intention of regime change in Iran. What they wanted to do was limit their nuclear ambitions, to stop them pursuing a nuclear weapon. And of course, we saw Operation Midnight Hammer in June, and the White House still has this on the website, that Iran's nuclear program was obliterated at that point. Now, we know that Donald Trump has come under pressure from Benjamin Netanyahu to take action against Iran. He has consistently pushed the idea that Iran was just weeks away from a nuclear weapon, something that he's been talking about for 20 years. Now we find ourselves in what is an open-ended operation. Donald Trump has warned Americans that there is the possibility there'll be American lives lost. That will be a problem for him with his base. That will be a problem for him with many people in the United States. And there's also problems ahead at Congress, because they believe that any declaration of war, and this is effectively a declaration of war, should have gone through Congress in the first instance.
Good to see you in person.
Alan, thank you very much for now. Alan.
Well, I know this is just Twitter, but people are pissed. For real.
В одностороннем порядке решили.
And now makes Putin look like, yeah, the U.S. He just always says the U.S. breaks all their deals. Why never trust them? Never trust the West. That's what he says. Nah, well, this is getting worse, but I'm also getting tired. I just, I don't think the bases. I don't think any. Hopefully, no Americans were hurt. Pakistan stands with Iran. I don't know if that's, yeah, religion. So this is Bahrain, base in Bahrain. American base.
What the fuck?
Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu says joint U.S. strikes on Iran aim to remove the existential threat. He hailed the joint action as empowering the Iranian people to shape their own future. Okay. Breaking. Qatar's Ministry of Defense announces it successfully intercepted several attacks targeting the country's territory and confirms that the threats were dealt with immediately upon detection. So that's a good side. Qatar took care of business. It's the
في
Bahrain
الموقع
base.
في الموقع وهل من مزيد ضربوا
It's his latest tweet 3 minutes ago. Iran tried to interfere in 2020-2024 elections. Are you kidding me? To stop Trump and now faces renewed war with United States. What? This guy's smoking crack. Did he really go to war with them because of the elections? I think it's because they tried to kill him. I think that's why. I think that's why he's extra pissed. That's unreal that he's putting the military out there and then tweeting something like that, putting that thousands of lives in danger for that. Oh, here you go. 50 place being destroyed.
Shelter in place. Missile threat warning. Seek ardent shelter immediately. Shelter in place. Missile threat warning. Seek ardent shelter
It's the
immediately.
5th Fleet.
Missile threat warning. Seek ardent shelter immediately. Shelter in place. Missile threat warning. Seek ardent shelter immediately. Shelter in place.
Nick Patton Walsh is on CNN, but he's in London. He's not in the field. Oh, is John on? Let's see. Yep, pray for our U.S. service members.
An Israeli operation. How long do you anticipate it to last? What do you see as the strategy, and what is going to determine victory for them?
Yeah, that's a challenge. But from what we heard from President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu today, it sounds like their goal is regime change. So that would mean the war would continue until presumably the Iranian people manage to seize control of the government away from the clerical regime and establish their own. And that we just can't predict when or if that will occur.
The assets that have been moved in the region, of course, are huge.
Multiple
I mean, we've seen
explosions.
2 U.S. Navy destroyers, over 300 aircraft. What does that tell you about the type of war
Shortly
that
after, so these
they're
probably
going to be
hit.
leading?
I think the key thing actually is the asset that's not there.
Israeli
So
military
in
is carrying out
past
attacks in
major
western
military
Iran.
operations
Holy
in the
fuck.
Middle East, such as the 2 wars against Iraq, there was a
Are
substantial
they
buildup
in
of
Iran?
ground forces. And this is often thought to be, critical for any long-term operation. It can't just be air campaign. It has to include a ground component. Sometimes it can be a local ground component.
This guy's must listen to.
Thank you
He's
for
such.
coming on. We see that the Israeli media reports, as well as American media, that within the last hour, that they began attacking Iran in what they called a quote preemptive strike, and we now see explosions heard in Tehran. And if I'm not mistaken, they're also now happening in other cities. I was wondering, if you can tell us what's happening there on the ground.
Well, as we all believed, the United States and the Israeli regime are completely dishonest and deceptive. And we've already seen that an infinite amount of times before. And we saw it during the 12-day war as we were negotiating between rounds 5 and 6 of talks. The Israeli regime and the Trump regime carried out a blitzkrieg attack against the Iranian people. And during this period, people have been expecting that such an attack would take place. The Iranians, of course, negotiated, as you and I have discussed before, both to see if a solution was possible, but also so that the international community and its own people would all feel and understand very clearly that it is not America. The question is,
there is
I don't think there's any dilemma at all. The Israeli regime has attacked, we will punish it. If the United States attacks, we will punish it too.
Wow.
The question that I have, and this is just a personal question, maybe this is not a question for
Punish it.
those who are in charge right now, they know exactly what's going on. When the Israeli regime and people in media are quoting American officials that this was a joint attack, maybe what they're trying to do is to provoke Iran to carry out an attack on the United States, thinking that this is a joint attack. That's just my personal guess. But I think Iran's policy is quite clear. Iran will strike the Israeli regime very hard. If the United States attacks, it's going to be all-out war.
This guy knows. He's in it with Iran.
In terms of well, the scope of this, do you think, given that the missiles are, well, I wouldn't say they're coming in slow, but do you think this is something that the Israelis might try and Americans might try to sell as a limited attack? If you and I discussed this before, that right, limited.
It is beaten so badly that it begs for a ceasefire. A power
which
that they would strike places where it would hurt the most, the maximum suffering. And since all these regimes have been completely complicit, from Qatar to the Emirates, even though these two countries hate each other, they're both American proxies. Qatar was never a supporter of the Palestinian people. Neither was Erdogan or anyone else. We see how they're all in the U.S. camp. So Qatar, just like the Emirates, is a possible target, depending on what happens. I don't want to say anything right now because I don't know what's happening.
This guy knows.
I don't know what the involvement of the United States is and how things will play out. But if there's all-out war, all I can say it will be a regional war. Iran's allies across the region, which are powerful and many, they will engage. The Iranian missile and drone capabilities are second to none in this region by far. They will engage, and there are so many soft targets that the United States cannot defend that can easily be destroyed. You have oil and gas installations everywhere. You have tankers and ships everywhere. And each one of these that are destroyed, shutting the Strait of Hormuz, that's one thing. But if the assets in the Persian Gulf region are destroyed, the oil and gas and the tankers, then even if the Strait of Hormuz is open, it could take years, depending on how long the war goes and how widespread the damage is.
The strait is going to be closed because already I think and the Houthis are going to continue their piracy. So
is depending again on how long the war lasts. It could take years.
So fuel prices, gas prices coming back up maybe in some places. Maybe, I mean, I guess we use a lot of our own fuel, so
for the oil to go to be exported like it was before, and that would create very, very long-term damage and misery for people across the globe. This is from the Persian Gulf region, from West Asia and the Caucasus combined. It's like, if I'm not mistaken, almost 25% of the world's oil comes from this area affected, and this will be.
I don't think Trump
I think
cares
it's a
about
very
that.
reasonable hypothesis because it is kind of narratives, but
And it's not just Cuba; it's everyone. This is all the rules have been cast aside. The United States expects Russia, China, Iran, BRICS, everyone across the world to abide by the rules. Yet they are openly and explicitly now above the law. And that is why governments and ordinary people from top to bottom, they have a role. Must be
the great powers, be it China,
beating them back and punishing them and bringing them to their knees.
He says,
can be done without any intervention from any other side. Again, this is my personal understanding. But if the United States gets involved, then all of Iran's allies will be at war. It will be a regional war. It won't be like an RPG attack somewhere and so no, it will be all-out war. From Yemen, which has been preparing itself, Iraq, which
Yemen,
Iran's
Iraq.
allies have been preparing themselves, and so on. So this will be something very big and something that the U.S. cannot manage because there are just too many people involved. Iraq is a huge country. Yemen is a huge country. The United States already lost a 7-week war to Yemen, and Yemen now has been preparing itself for the next stage. In the United States, its resources are divided, in different places right now. I mean, there's Iran, there's resistance in Iraq, there's Yemen, and there are others in the axis of resistance. So this will not be something that the U.S. can manage. And
Venezuela,
I think that the
Mexico,
international community will, I don't know how
Greenland,
it will play out, but I think it's only going to make countries
ICE,
across the global majority tilt away from the United
National
States,
Guard.
move away from the United States, because the United States is becoming increasingly dangerous. It's becoming, it's a truly rogue regime.
This guy's
They're
a real
murdering
hater, though.
as the
He's
UK
hardcore
Involvement
Iran.
mean as well as the Gulf states because
He is
how
Iran.
everyone wants aggressive or weak.
is able to devastate
He's
the
Iran
regime to force
spokesman,
it
basically.
to a ceasefire. I can't comment on this right now because I really don't know. But I have to start acting.
Bring them to their knees. Okay, sir. David Icke said Israel attacks Iran with American support in the most predictable act you can imagine. Of course, with American support when Trump is owned by Israel. I have no brief for the Islamic extremists in Iran, and neither for the fake Jewish extremism, Netanyahu fake Christian. David Icke went off.
And to be the Shah, and it's going to be constitutional democracy, constitutional monarchy, and everybody's going to live happily ever after. No, that's not the case at all. First of all, the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, which effectively runs the country, has 150,000 people. That's a lot of people with a lot of weapons. Number two, the country is genuinely split. Sure, there are some people who support the MEK. There are some people who are tired of living under these ayatollahs, but there are a lot of people who want to be left alone. I remember in 2003, the night before we invaded Iraq, hearing a senior director at the National Security Center say, as we were wrapping up a meeting, he was picking up his papers to get up and walk out of the conference room, and he said, tomorrow, when we cross the border, they're going to throw flowers at us. And I said to the deputy director of the CIA, these people don't know anything about history. Well, we're seeing exactly the same thing in Iran. They're not going to throw flowers at us. They're going to see us as attackers and invaders, and they're going to unite to protect their country. So if we think that the Iranians are just going to roll over and their government's just going to collapse and the Ayatollah is going to jump on a plane and run to Moscow or wherever, ain't going to happen.
So Kiriakou thinks.
We have people.
Qatar Airways suspending flights due to airspace closure. Loud explosion heard in Tehran, Al Jazeera. Qatar Airways flights from Doha suspended. Turkish airline canceled to Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran till March 2. Turkish Airlines cancels. More explosions, Abu Dhabi. It's still popping, guys. Explosions have been reported in Urmia, the western part of Iran. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Al Salim Air Base in Kuwait. Al Dhafra Air Base in the UAE. And the 5th U.S. base in Bahrain have been targeted by Iranian missile attacks. None of this is good. I wonder. I mean, the guy that was speaking earlier, not before Kiriakou, the Iranian guy, the professor, he's basically was like advisor 2 years ago to basically the highest level, if not even the diplomatic Ayatollah, the mullah diplomatic people. He basically knows what they're thinking, and he said it would be all out war. He mentioned, I believe, Yemen, and man, it's just really messy. And just wait till the first American. Hopefully, no Americans die, but if it's war, it's gonna happen. Trump said it will happen.
Some missiles launching here in Abu Dhabi. Big shit.
The location where we saw firsthand that these active Qatar's air defense operations are unfolding, but we see their intercepted missiles coming to the direction of the
Missiles
city of
launched from
Doha. And not
Yemen.
long ago, we actually saw that the smoke is actually coming from the direction of the old port. And that goes really with lines what the Qatar official statement says here, that everybody should stay indoors. And they keep urging population, not just people living here, not foreign nationals, but everybody in the country to stay indoors, because this situation is rapidly moving and it's quite changing quickly on the ground. But we also have another warning coming from the U.S. Embassy. Actually, that's the warning that was in place early morning. They told people here in Qatar to take cover, to take shelter, and also to follow official channels of communication, because as I said, the situation is rapidly moving here. But for now, what we saw is Qatar's air defense are intercepting missile and projectiles coming to the directions in Qatar. And of course, it's really important to mention that it really goes with the context of Al Udeid air base. That's the largest American military installation here in the Middle East. And that's the reason why we saw smoke coming from the direction of the old port, but also we cannot independently confirm this report that the base itself has been hit in any of these attacks.
Okay, so we can't just confirm the reports that the base itself at Al Udeid has been hit. We do know, though, that Qatar has closed its airspace, and so has the UAE and Kuwait. Qatar Airways, Axel, announcing the suspensions of flights from Doha. This is going to cause a huge disruption across the region.
That's true, and it also Qatar also issued a statement saying that all the flights are canceled until further notice, and everybody, people who have scheduled flights to leave the country and come in the country, should remain indoors. But also, the government is urging population here to not to go out in any public gatherings, to stay indoors, to make sure they have enough supplies until the situation is more cleared. But
very unhappy with being at sea now for what, 10 months, and before this is over it will be. But you're talking about something
it's slightly
in the regions.
Here in Qatar, but
nuclear program, and there he's talking about
the communication, and
not
the government is urging everybody not to cause panic and not to take any unnecessary journeys in this particular moment.
So, Axel, what are Qatari authorities
Video
saying
shows
briefly,
plumes of
if you can,
smoke
in just
rising.
a minute, if you can, as to what might happen tomorrow, whether schools and offices will be open tomorrow, whether the airspace will reopen soon.
These are American bases. Iran has officially attacked U.S. airbase.
is that some public entities
At least
advise
one
their
person
employees
has
to
been killed in Abu Dhabi
essentially
and UAE after
work from
several.
home until further notice, because it's very hard to predict in which direction this entire regional conflict might go.
I wonder if it's American.
What we know is that everybody should exercise caution and as I've been repeating, it's just to basically stay indoors. That's the only most accurate and relevant information that we're getting from the government at this point.
Axel, thank you very much for now. Axel Zaimovic in Doha there for us. If you're just joining us on Al Jazeera, it's just past 10 GMT. I'm Fully Batibo, and you're watching Al Jazeera's continuing coverage of the U.S. and Israel's attacks on Iran. Iran has retaliated by launching a wave of missiles at Israel and at U.S. assets across the region. The joint U.S.-Israel attack began in the capital of Tehran, but has now spread across the country in what the United States has called
touch base
Operation
tomorrow.
Epic
And
Fury.
I didn't do any of the sports
The
stuff
Israeli
today,
military
but
says it struck dozens
I'll do
of
more of
military
that
targets in Iran,
soon.
and that
I had a
strikes will
rough day
continue as
today.
required.
Found
Iran
out
has
my
closed
car
its
is
airspace
basically
and cut mobile phone
not worth
services.
repairing.
It's also vowed that its
Or it's too
response to
expensive.
the
It's
attack
like
will
a
be
$4,000 to
crushing.
$6,000 repair
Now, this,
on an
of
old
course, is
car.
happening just days after representatives from Tehran
Oh,
and Washington held indirect nuclear talks in Geneva. Let's show you some of the latest video we're seeing, which shows a low-lying flying fighter jet in the skies over the Iranian capital. Iranians have been hearing the sounds of jets and explosions throughout this Saturday morning. Aside from Tehran, there have also been attacks in several other cities, including the holy city of Qom, Karaj near the capital, Isfahan also in central Iran, and Tabriz in the northwest. Kermanshah and Ilam, both in the west towards the border with Iraq, have also been targeted. Explosions have been reported across the Gulf region as Iran
So it sounds like it's going to be, yeah, I agree, the Yemen, Iraq, Lebanon.
These are some of the latest images we're receiving. Bahrain says the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet has been targeted by a missile attack. The government is urging people to take cover in a safe area. Bahrain's National Communications Center has also issued a statement which says the attacks are a flagrant violation of Bahrain's sovereignty and security. The government of the Kingdom of Bahrain has issued a strong condemnation of these hostile attacks, describing them as a direct threat to the kingdom's security and to the safety of its citizens and residents. The statement also says that Bahrain reserves its full right to respond and to take all necessary measures to safeguard its national security and protect its sovereignty in coordination with its allies.
I wonder if that person's an American. All right, well,
loud explosions have
thanks
also
for joining
been
me on the
heard
stream.
in
I'm gonna watch a little more and go to bed.
Emirates, which has announced it will
See you tomorrow
and
or later
temporarily
today.
close its airspace.
Goodbye.
These are some of the latest images that appear to show